Hi, I'm Charlie from CookingSecretsForMen.com, and we are continuing our series, Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders, and I'm very pleased to have as my guest today, Judge Derek Mosley.
Charlie, pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Judge Mosley is currently at Marquette Law School, and we'll talk about Marquette in just a minute. He's on many lists. One list that I did want to point out is the top 100 power brokers for the Milwaukee Business Journal.
Right.
And not only are you on the list, you're right in the center of the cover of the list.
Right.
So,
which was surprising, but hey, I'll take it.
That's right. So we were just talking briefly. So you grew up on the south side of Chicago.
Absolutely.
And I just asked you Bears or Cubs, and you just slapped.
Well, I'm Bears, but I'm White Sox.
White Sox.
No Cubs. No Cubs.
White Sox. So White Sox, big Chicago. Went to Marian Catholic.
Absolutely.
And then went to undergrad degree in
Iowa. Yep.
And then, so talk about your upbringing.
Yeah.
Other than being a White Sox fan. And how that prepared you for the next part of your life.
Yeah, so what's interesting about what I do now in my whole legal career is that I tell students this all the time. I always ask, why do you want to go to law school? Or why do you want to be a lawyer? And my reason, I'll tell you my upbringing. I didn't see any lawyers growing up. Never saw them. Never saw any black lawyers, let me say. And the first black lawyer I ever saw was an actor by the name of Blair Underwood.
Oh, sure.
And Blair played Jonathan Rollins on LA Law. Right. Absolutely. And he was the first black lawyer I ever saw. And I just fell in love with it. I'm like, wow, I could be a lawyer? And, I fell in love with it for all the wrong reasons, Charlie, right? Remember, he lived on the ocean.
Right.
He drove a BMW. He had this amazing life, and which really wasn't reality when you talk about big firm life. And so that's what got me started with that. My dad worked for, at the time, it's called Illinois Bell. My mom was a secretary, and she worked at, remember Encyclopedia Britannica?
Sure.
Yep. And so she worked at Encyclopedia Britannica for a long time, then eventually went to a university called Governor State University.
Uh-huh.
And she worked for, which is ironically enough, her name, you might have heard of Shonda Rhimes.
Sure.
Okay. From
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. So Shonda and I went to high school together.
Oh, really?
Catholic. Yep.
Ah.
And Shonda's mom, Vera, and my mom worked together at Governor State University. They worked there, but then the Bell system broke up.
Right.
And my dad, it was either you lose your job or you move out to Jersey for AT&T. And so the family packed up and went to Jersey a little bit later. I never lived in Jersey. By that time, I was already out in college. But yeah, I have a younger sister who's 7 years younger than I. So we really didn't grow up together. And so I was a latchkey kid. I would come home. I had a key, had it literally wrapped around my neck. I would open the door, close it, lock it, could never answer the door. I hate to say this, but I was like raised on TV. So I would sit down, do homework, and then was raised on TV. Then eventually my mom was like, you know what, this isn't working. And so there was a library right next to my grade school, St. Joseph's. Mm-hmm. And I would go from school right to the library. And I would sit there, and it was the only place where I could spend the entire day. No one would say, hey, you got to leave. I could read all the books. It was amazing. And so I'm a big proponent of libraries, especially here in Milwaukee.
So after you graduated, got your undergrad degree, you came here to Milwaukee.
Yep, absolutely.
And went to Marquette Law School, where you at full ride.
Right, which is why I'm here.
Right.
Because I applied to all those Chicago ones, DePaul, Loyola, U of C, all those schools. But the money came from Marquette. So that's why I'm here.
Well, we're glad that you did. So you graduated in 95.
Yep.
And then you went to work as the assistant district attorney for Milwaukee County for about 7 years.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that experience and how it shaped your view of the law and leading you to become the municipal judge here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, so that experience at the Milwaukee County DA's office is the reason I had this love for Milwaukee. So I'll break it down quickly for you. So I started off in misdemeanor court like all new ADAs do, but then I got sent out to children's court. When I was out to children's court, I found out that I was the only black male that these kids ever saw, right? The attorney was white, the judge was white, the prosecutor was white, and so I was the only black person, male, that they saw. So I stayed there probably longer than your normal rotation just for that purpose. And then when I came downtown, I started a unit in the Milwaukee DA's office called Community Prosecution Unit. And I had seen it, and it started in Portland. And the way it works is they take DAs and they put them in the community. So let me give you an example. So I was originally from Chicago. So when a cop came to me and he said, this happened on the 2200 block of North Palmer. The 2200 block of North Palmer meant nothing to me, right? Because I wasn't from here. So when I started the Community Prosecution Unit, we put DAs in neighborhoods. And so when someone said to me the 2200 block of North Palmer, I was like, oh, that's Miss Johnson's place, right? That's her block.
Right.
And so that's why I fell in love with Milwaukee, because I was stationed in different neighborhoods in the city, Harambe, Williamsburg Heights, River West, and I got to know the city. I fell in love with the city. And that's what started this whole thing about staying in Milwaukee and loving Milwaukee so much. And I also met my wife at Marquette.
So after being a judge for 20 years, you are currently, and you became the director, I have to get the director of the Lubar Center for Public Policy Research and Civic Education.
I know it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
Does he make you say this on your business card? You need an extra large.
It's all on it. It's even on my. Look at it. It's even on my shirt.
I just looked here and said, yeah,
it's a lot.
Right.
It's a lot.
So it's kind of a full circle thing. Where you went to law school at Marquette, and now you're like the man in charge.
Right back at home. It's great to be back. It's a homecoming.
So how do you see the connections between your work as an ADA and a municipal judge influence your role here at Marquette?
What I do at the Lubar Center, our goal of the Lubar Center is, first and foremost, we're a venue. All right, so we are about a 260 seat venue inside the law school.
Okay.
And it was started by Shel Lubar, and Shel just wanted to have a place where people got together, no matter your political ideologies, your ethnic background, your race, your socioeconomic status, no matter what it was. Put you in a room together with other people and to actually sit and talk about things that affect us every day, whether it's locally, nationally, whatever it may be. So that's what we do. So I throw all these events. We do it a number of ways. Ones are called our OTIs. We call them On the Issues. You might be familiar with that. My predecessor at the OTI piece was Mike Goucher, and he would bring in like newsmakers, local officials in, and we just talk about an issue. Then the audience gets to ask them questions. Another thing we do is what we call the Get to Knows, or GTK. Everything's initials. So GTKs, and the Get to Knows are basically more informal. It's just me, like you and I, right now, just sitting on a couch talking, and I take people who are who affect your life every day that you probably don't even know. So our first guest was Dale Kuyinga, who's going to be the president of the MMAC, senior vice president now. But he's going to have a big influence here in Milwaukee, and for the most part, he really hasn't lived in Milwaukee. Right. So I wanted to get him in front of people so they could ask him questions, so we did that. And the ones that we're most proud of is our heritage dinners. So, because part of my thing is food, which you know. So each Heritage Month, so February was Black History Month, so I had 5 African-American chefs who came in, and they prepared 5 dishes that were introduced to the American palate by enslaved Africans. And so each chef, me and Tariq Moody from 88.9, we would talk about the history of these dishes, why you eat macaroni and cheese, why you eat fried chicken. They're great stories. So that's what we do. So our models for those heritage dinners are meet someone, learn something, try everything. And so we just had one 2 Sundays ago for AAPI, for Asian American Pacific Islander Month. And we had 5 chefs representing Chinese, Filipino, Hmong, Lao, and Indian. And same thing, you sit at tables of people you do not know.
Right.
The chefs tell you why we eat this. You know, we eat Chinese food here, right? And the first thing they said was, we don't have sweet and sour chicken.
Right.
We don't eat sweet and sour chicken. We don't eat shrimp fried rice. We don't eat those things. And so we ate traditional dishes of each culture. And you meet somebody and you learn something. A study said that we don't interact anymore. We don't live in the same neighborhoods. Our kids don't go to the same schools, and we know very little about each other. And so this political divide that we have, everybody's like siloed in their little place, and we're not willing to talk to each other. We call each other Wisconsinites, but you know, you have probably know more about someone from Minnesota than you know from Wisconsin, depending on where you live.
Right.
In northern Wisconsin, there are people who go an entire week, month, without having any meaningful contact with a person of color. It's we can't get a lot done that way.
Well, it's a great point, because in most of America, you live in the same neighborhood with people who think like you and look like you.
Absolutely.
No matter what your persuasion. That's just,
It's how the nature of the beast.
Right.
Yep.
So you are a kidney transplant recipient.
I am.
And you're a big supporter of Donate Life Wisconsin and the National Kidney Foundation. So talk about your role in Donate Life Hollywood, where you talk with television and movies about how to portray
the reality of
transplant. Right. Yeah. And also some of the obstacles you had to overcome with having kidney disease.
Yeah, so, wow, whew, that's a steep one. Okay, here we go. So, all right.
This is a wind them up and let them go question.
So, all right, so in 2014, I was diagnosed with end-stage renal disease. And I found out that my kidneys were functioning at that point about 10%. And so, but I didn't really have any outward signs of it. So, I just called my best friend, who's a judge in the city of Brookfield, or town of Brookfield, Joanne Eyring. And I told her, I was like, hey, I just got back from the doctor. My kidneys are failing. I have to get a transplant. And before I could say transplant, she said, oh, you can have mine. Like I was asking for sugar or something, right? She's like, oh, you can have mine. And so I was like, oh, well, and this is my honest to God reaction. I'm not kidding. My reaction was, you are so sweet, but your kidney is not going to work in me, right? Because I was like, I'm male, female, black, white. I'm a big guy. She's really little. And I was like, this is never going to work. So she's like, let's just work it up. So we work it up. She comes back a perfect match, right?
Wow.
So so we had the transplant. But before I got the transplant, I was on dialysis because typically dialysis is 3 days a week, right? For like 4 or 5 hours. Right. I couldn't do that as a judge. I'm sitting on the bench. So I did what was called peritoneal dialysis. And so I did that every single day for 10 hours a day. And so it's one of the best forms of dialysis because you are cleaned out every day. Right. Whereas peritoneal, it's every other day, like 3 times a week. That middle day, you just get filled up with so many toxins, it just makes you feel terrible. So I really didn't have that because every day I was doing it, but 10 hours a day wears on you. Yeah. And so, and then I had the transplant on a freighter. I decided to go public with it because about 48, maybe right now it's about 49% of the people who are waiting for a kidney are African American. About 10% of the people who are actually organ donors are African Americans. So I went public for that reason, to say that it doesn't matter what your race, your creed, your color, your size, we can give you a kidney. All our kidneys are interchangeable. In fact, our surgeon said I had both kidneys in my hand and I couldn't tell them apart.
Really?
So, yep. And so that was the reason I got really involved in Donate Life, to get more African Americans as donors, to get more African Americans aware of what the results of the kidney problem is. I got to go into this because this is historical.
Okay.
So the reason why the vast majority,
like I said, wind them up and
all right, let me go. You should let me talk. So here's the thing. The reason why there's so many African Americans that have kidney disease is because they actually trace it back to slavery. Let me tell you what I mean. So that trip from Africa to the New World, or to the United States, was called the Middle Passage. It was 3 months long. And you were in the bottom of a slave ship, chained to other people, very little food, very little water, things of that nature. What they found out, a lot of people died on that journey, right? Sure. But what they found out are the people who actually survived that journey, what they're called natural salt retainers. That's why they survived that journey. So they come over, and they come over with other natural salt retainers, and they have kids who are also natural salt retainers, and then you have this diet high in fat. High in fat and salt. So, the African diet, the slave diet was a piece of salt pork, a piece of salted fish. That was the diet. Right. And so the kidneys, this is generational. That dates back to like the 1619s. And so, so we have a history of it. So now that we know that we have a history of it, what can we do to change that? And so then I also signed on with Donate Life Hollywood. Right. So we could stop telling stories about people going to Mexico and waking up in a bathtub full of ice missing a kidney, right? That doesn't happen. And so we tried to tell.
I've seen those shows.
You've seen those shows. Every time I see something like that, I just cringe. Like, it doesn't happen like that. And so anyway, but and that's what I do. So
your story is actually very well known in the community. I was sitting with some friends downstairs the other day, and I mentioned that you were coming in. I said, "Oh yeah, he's a kidney transplant survivor," and went into it. So it's just it's known, and you're a great spokesman for the entire transplant and dialysis and everything. Because you experienced
I
it.
lived it.
Right.
It's awful.
So tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so I met my wife, Kelly, at law school. She's an administrative law judge for the state of Wisconsin.
Okay.
So she handles cases on people who are, trying to get the state to pay for certain things, like whether it's a wheelchair, she does those types of hearings.
Okay.
She loves it. So she's a different kind of judge because administrative law, it's all written. All the orders have to be written, which I would absolutely hate because I'm a litigator. Just let me talk.
Right.
You don't want me to write anything. Just let me talk. And so, and we have 2 daughters. I have a senior who graduates next weekend from Divine Savior Holy Angels, and she's going on a scholarship to Loyola University in Chicago. And I have a freshman another daughter named Kieran. So Callan's my oldest, Kieran's my youngest. Kieran is a freshman at Pius. She did not want to follow her sister at all. Right. So of course my life is driving her all around town. But so she's at Pius as a freshman and loves it. She's on the powerlifting team.
Wow.
And so it's we have 2 dogs. We have a dog Rollo. I don't know if you remember Sanford and Son.
Oh sure.
But Lamont's best friend was Rollo. Always got in
trouble.
Okay. That's this dog. Always gets into trouble. So we got Rollo.
All right. So we call this. Cooking with Community Leaders, serious people with serious jobs, having a little fun. So you are a known foodie here in Milwaukee. Your restaurant recommendations are well known. I mean, I told you before, I've followed you on social media for years, reading your recommendations and stuff, and it's always you're spot on with a lot of the stuff. And I know that you take pride in having cultures reverse, again, sending white people to black neighborhoods, sending black people to white neighborhoods,
Absolutely.
and try this place instead of staying where you are. So we've had some serious foodies here on the show before. I've had Mark Monet, Wendy Bauman, Joanne Anton, and they're serious foodies. But I think you may be over the top of the list on that one.
Well, it's really weird how that happened.
That's what I was going to. How did you get to be? So foodie.
So first of all, the restaurant industry here is amazing. So when I had my kidney transplant and I came home, Thomas Hawk, Chef Hawk, who's now at the Immigrant Room in Kohler, he had meals pre-made, ready so my wife didn't have to do anything, I didn't have to do anything, I just eat. Then St. Paul's Fish Company, they came, and for that next week, they had meals for me. And just the industry was just amazing. And so, and during COVID, you've seen, they were doing all the free meals, come to the restaurant. So I just wanted to support them as well. I mean, they're trying to, Milwaukeeans are very rigid. Like, Friday, I go to Kegel's for my fish fry, right? That's it, nowhere else. That's where I go for my fish fry. And so I wanted to try to get people, like you said, expand, go to different neighborhoods. And apparently the James Beard Foundation found out what I was doing, and they asked me to be a James Beard judge last year. So I was a scout judge for the James Beard Foundation, so I got to scout restaurants out. And
I'd sign up for that job.
Terrible job. Terrible job. And fortunately, I just scout. I don't pick. But fortunately, Dane Baldwin from The Diplomat won Best Chef and Best Restaurant in the Midwest. So it was great.
I love The Diplomat. All right, so you and I talked earlier this week a couple times about what it is we wanted to cook today.
Yeah.
And you
deferred to you.
Well, you asked me, you said, well, about going to Italy, which we just came back.
Yep.
You said, did you have anything that was really interesting or different? I said, yeah. I had a couple things. One in particular, which I think would be good. It was a roasted bell pepper stuffed,
hear my stomach.
Stuffed with spaghetti, eggplant, zucchini, and olives, and then breadcrumbs on top, and then
and a nap.
broiler.
Then a nap.
Yeah, then a nap. So it was from a little hotel that we went to we stayed in Sorrento called Hotel Minerva, and I'm going to send this to everybody. So, ciao Nino, e tutti albergo Minerva. Means hello to everybody in Minerva.
Nice.
So that's what I'd like to cook today.
I'm excited.
And so we'll go over to the cooking area here in just a minute. Let's give it a chance to set up. I've done a little bit of prep work, so it shouldn't take that long. But thanks for the.
No.
I mean, there's so many other things I could have covered with you, like the wedding. You're the
I have a wedding
judge.
today too.
There's a million things. So you may have to come back at some time. Maybe go outside and we'll grill something.
Let's do that.
All right, good.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll be back in just a minute. All right, so we're over here at the cooking area. And I should have mentioned we're in our auxiliary studio, which means we're in our apartment because there's a graduation party from Marquette Nursing School downstairs in our community room, which we usually use. So a little more cramped than normal. So, and to make this stuffed red pepper, we've already roasted the red peppers, steamed them, and took the skin off. So they're ready to be stuffed. We've got some pasta here, ready to go. It's already been cooked. Got a little red sauce that we will use with the pasta and the stuffing. So Judge, I'm going to have you start with the eggplant.
All right.
So we've got some oil heating.
Yep.
And
Probably already just give a test, just to make sure where we are. Yep, glad I did.
yep. You don't want to. So the egg, we cut them into matchsticks. And that was the way it was served to us at the Hotel Minerva in Sorrento.
All right. This is gonna cook fast.
Yeah, and so once that gets a little bit of heat on it, and we're also it'll go in the broiler for a couple minutes too. So
After that?
well,
After we do this?
when we stuff it, it's going to go into the broiler.
Gotcha.
All right, so we're
Make
going
sure we get,
a little bit.
don't wanna waste anything. What else do you have in this one? This is the,
That's zucchini.
I might have to start with that pretty soon,
Okay.
because this is getting,
All right.
this is not messing around. Let's get this going. Now, I don't know what they told you. I don't season these at all?
No, there's salt and pepper here.
Hit it with a little salt?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
We do want to season it because it's the pasta obviously not seasoned.
I know it looks like it's a lot, but that's what I'm sorry, I got it. I got
No.
to make sure we got it. Oh my God, it smells delicious. Oh my goodness.
All right, so yeah, why do we stuff it?
Man, it smells delicious. Can I throw some garlic in?
Absolutely. This is
it. Oh,
SPG, salt, pepper, garlic.
all right.
From Grillaholics, we use it all the time.
Make sure, you gotta give them their props.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'm going to put a little garlic in if you don't mind.
Can you why don't you put the olives in too?
Oh, I didn't see the olives.
Yeah, olives go in.
Yep. If I could have laid off the salt a little bit with, I didn't think about the olives.
That's okay. So yeah, this is the inside. And so what we're gonna do, once this gets a little bit of heat, we're gonna take the pasta, finish it in with the vegetables, throw a little red sauce on it, and then we'll stuff the peppers.
I'm gonna hit some garlic if you don't
There
mind.
you go.
I don't know about you, Charlie, but I love garlic.
There's a saying in my family, there's no such thing as too much garlic, too much chocolate, or too much butter. So
Perfect.
so go for it.
All right, there we go.
All right. Put a little garlic in, salt, pepper, garlic. And as the judge mentioned, there is a little salt in the olives. So.
Yeah, but I don't want to add too much.
Right.
This is perfect, my friend. All right, tell me the next step.
All right, so we'll take the pasta over here and put that in.
All right, I'll let you put the pasta in.
All right, so we're gonna.
And what did you, it's just pasta and water?
Yeah, well, a little salt.
Okay.
The Italians put salt in everything. So, and we also finish pasta in the sauce.
Yes.
So that'll be plenty.
I'm gonna use this, if you don't mind, this glove here.
Yeah, those are also Grillaholics gloves.
You're a big fan of Grillaholics.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Charlie.
All right, so we're finishing that off, and now
All right.
gonna ladle some sauce in. All right, let's give that a stir.
Oh, this is outstanding.
We want to cover,
All
not
the noodles?
drench. Yeah.
Yep.
Get a little red.
Not drench.
Right, so because we're also going to put some sauce down on the base and put the pepper on top of that.
So tell me about this place that you actually learned about this dish.
So this was the Hotel Sorrento. Ciao, tutti albergo Minerva. It was a little boutique hotel, and they had this fixed price menu every night where everything changed every night. It was a different menu every night. So the appetizers were different. The the first course was different. It was always pasta, and the second course was always different. So we were there 4 nights and had 4 different meals. And it was really good. And this was one that just spoke to me because it was so freaking good. All right, so I think we're good there. So what we're going to do is we're going to stuff the pasta into roasted red peppers. I roasted on the grill yesterday, and you can see little black marks, took the skin off. So one thing I want to mention about these peppers, the first one that I did was this one. And as you can see, I just cut the top off. That didn't do such a good job, because that doesn't really hold anything. The other ones, what you do is I just cut around the stem with a little paring knife, and that allows more to be stuffed in and hold better. So I think this one will not stand up as well, and the others, as you can see, I just put the paring knife, cut a little circle around, pulled that out, and pulled the seeds out. So
the intention is it's going to stand up on its own?
Well, it's going to sit on its side.
Sit on its side, but it's, okay.
Right, so this doesn't really sit on its side. So
that still looks...
So as I mentioned, I didn't get the recipe. This is just something that I ate that I wanted to recreate. So we're going to move over to the other side. There we go. And put this together, and then we're going to put it in the oven and broil it for a couple of minutes with some breadcrumbs, and we'll be right back. The process here that we're going to go, we're going to stuff these peppers with the mixture of spaghetti, zucchini, eggplant, and olives. So the one that I pointed out where I just chopped the top off, I may have that as a second course. But I think the way we're going to do this is, you can see it's just pulled the stem out. So I'm going to take this and kind of just twirl it in and get down in there. So maybe get a little bit more. I want to get some of the goodies. Yeah, good. Yeah. All right. Just a little bit, teeny bit more. See if it fits in.
So you said you went to this place. They served this, and it just came out on a plate like this.
Well, no, I ordered it because it sounded. I loved all the ingredients. So we're going to go ahead and put these on a prepared sheet pan on its side, and we're going to a little olive oil, because that is, of course, olive oil.
Absolutely.
And then sprinkle a little breadcrumbs on top, and then this will roast like this on the side. So, Judge, I'll get you to.
I'll do one. Yeah. I'm going to take this big one if you don't mind, because
Sure.
I'm going to really stuff it. Oops. It was open for me. Keep this in there, get in. There we go.
And then twist.
Twist that in.
There you go. Ah, there you go. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. This one's going to be stuffed, my friend.
Let me get you some.
That's some good stuff in there.
Veggies.
Yep, sorry about that. Just look. There, we're going to get that in there. Oh. So make sure you can see that, all that goodness. I want to top it off with just a little bit more on top, if you don't mind.
Sure. All right, so we're going to stuff these other two, and then we're going to put them under the broiler. Get the breadcrumbs a little toasty, and then I think we have to try them.
Oh, I hope we try them.
Yeah, we'll try. All right, so we'll be back after they've broiled. We'll sit down and give it a little taste test. All right, here we are. Judge and I put together, it's a roasted, why don't you go ahead and show that?
Yeah.
Roasted,
Oh, look at that.
red pepper stuffed with spaghetti, zucchini, eggplant.
You have to hit yours with a little cheese on
And
top.
put a little Parmesan Reggiano, and on a base of a little red sauce that we cooked the spaghetti in. So I think it's only fair and we give it a taste.
Let's do it.
All right.
I was waiting.
I'm going to, to my friends in Sorrento, thank you very much for serving this. And I think it might be something I eat more than once.
Oh. Oh. That pepper was done perfectly.
Yeah, the trick with the pepper is you don't want to overcook it because it'll just fall apart.
It's done perfectly. It's firm.
That was my hope. That's why the first one that I chopped the top off, that's why that was never going to work.
This is dynamic.
Now this is my joke about this series that I do. I have some, serious people with serious jobs come out, have a little fun. We talk about your work in the community and cook something, and then I get to eat it. Well, it's a great scam for me.
You know, the olives add a perfect salt piece.
Yeah,
Perfect salt piece.
the chef there made some amazing things. The other one that I really love was a lamb, chopped lamb ragu over really thick noodles. They were more than pappardelle or tagliatelle. They were probably half the size of a lasagna noodle.
Oh.
And the noodles just hugged all of the ragu and the lamb. It was so good.
Oh, man.
But this was a close second.
Well, this is my number one.
Well, Judge, thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely.
How could I say no to this? Are you kidding me?
Well, it's a pleasure. I mean, like I told you before, I followed you on social media for years. Your reputation as a foodie precedes you
Appreciate it.
everywhere. You're someone that the community just gravitates to. You have this, as people can see from our interviews, have this personality that just is effusive and invites people
Thank you.
to feel that they can approach you and talk to you, and you're not this unassailable high and mighty judge. You're just just a guy who happens to now you work in a law school.
Right. I want to thank you for reaching out, because if you didn't reach out, this wouldn't have happened.
So, well, this is another installment of Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders. Next week, I have a very, 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 very special guest. I'm sorry.
That's 3 varies. I didn't get 3 varies.
Well, I've been trying to get this person on the show for quite a while. She's president of a local foundation. She's an excellent cook and has so far resisted coming on the show, but I think I've convinced this person to come on next week.
Good. I wonder who that could be.
It might be my wife. Anyway, so as always, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate all your support. We're going to finish our stuffed peppers. Please like and subscribe. Check out all the other videos, especially the ones with our community leaders. And as always, thanks for watching.